Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the Beavercreek City Council on October 12th. Before we get started with the roll call tonight, we have some introductions, and the Deputy Chief is going to tell us about two new officers.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council.
Good evening.
It is always a pleasure for us to introduce our new officers. We have two fine young gentlemen this evening who started their very first day today, and I'd like just to formally introduce both of them here. To my left is Dylan St. New, Officer St. New. He comes to us from Ansonia High School, and he's a graduate of Wright State University with a Bachelor of Arts in Crime and Justice, and he's completed his Sinclair Community College Police Academy in June of 2020, and just recently got his certification in July of 2020. Dylan is this is going to be his first police department. His actual first job is being a police officer right out of college, so we're looking forward to that. They just started, like I said, he's got his first day under his belt, and they have roughly, both of them will have 14 weeks of training with a field training officer, where they'll be turned over to the field training supervisor and be with an FTO for that time frame until they get trained up. Then they'll be out on their own, hopefully in about a little over 3 months. Now, Sean Powers, he comes to us from Wayne High School, and Sean is interesting because he actually attended our Citizens Police Academy back in 2018, which piqued his interest. He's a 16-year veteran here of living in the city, and he worked for Honda for a while doing some research and development. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Actually with a racing team, I think I mentioned this morning that you're swearing in.
Yes,
Yes.
regular automotive development and racing.
Okay. He attended the Greene County Criminal Justice Academy and graduated just recently in June. And I just want to welcome both of them and let them each have a couple of moments, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Dylan.
Mayor and other members of City Council, I really do appreciate this opportunity to be an officer here at Beavercreek Police Department and to work for the city of Beavercreek. I've only lived here and been around this area for the last 4 years, and I don't currently live here, but I plan to move here very soon because this is an absolutely gorgeous community with absolutely gorgeous people. And so with that, I thank you guys so much.
Well, welcome, and thank you.
Hello, Mayor and members of City Council. My name is Sean. I've been a resident of the city 16, almost 17 years now. I consider it a great honor to join the Beavercreek Police Department. This is a second career for me, so I'm very excited to get started. It's vastly different than what I've done in the past, and I'm super excited to get going. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the honor goes both ways. It's always an honor to bring in two new officers. So it was a joy this morning to be able to swear you in. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Bales?
Here.
Councilmember Curran?
Here.
Councilmember Dewar?
Here.
Councilmember Garcia? Here. Councilmember Schwartz? Here. Vice Mayor Adams?
Here.
Mayor Stone?
Here. And I'll turn it over to Vice Mayor Adams for a moment here.
Please stand. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight I want to talk a little bit about something we talked about at church yesterday, and that's human trafficking and what a real problem it is. I guess I didn't realize how widespread it was, but I looked up some numbers today, and there's 1 million people that are trafficked each year globally. 20 to 50,000 of those are trafficked into the United States. And there's a misconception that it doesn't happen here, but there's almost 200,000 incidences every year here in the United States. And tonight I'd just like for us to take a moment and have a moment of silence and pray for those people that are the victims of this, and also for the law enforcement officers and the private individual communities and organizations that are trying to combat this, because it certainly is a horrific thing to go through for these people. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have an agenda before us this evening. Any corrections?
Move we approve the agenda, Your Honor.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. We have one set of minutes to approve this evening, and that's the September 14th, 2020 regular scheduled meeting. Any corrections or changes?
Seeing none, move to approve September 14th, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as submitted for September 14th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next, ordinances, resolutions, and PUDs. First is ordinance 20-22.
This is a second reading of an ordinance to change the name of segments of Lance Road and Wallaby Way to McGrath Way.
Thank you. This is the second reading of this ordinance. It was sponsored by Councilmember Schwartz. Is there any discussion? Our honored guest was not able to make it tonight, but we will have them in at another point in time. So do I hear a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 20-22.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 20-22. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next is ordinance 20-24.
This is a second reading of an ordinance to appropriate certain real property interests owned by Joseph Nelson and Molly Nelson for the County Line Road Widening Project in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio.
Okay, this is also the second reading of this ordinance and is sponsored by Councilmember Bales. Is there any input? Seeing none,
Move to approve ordinance 20-24.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 20-24. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next is ordinance 20-25.
This is a second reading of an ordinance to appropriate certain real property interests owned by Eric J. Davis for the County Line Road Widening Project in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio.
Okay, this is the second reading as well. This motion was sponsored by Councilmember Curran. Is there any discussion?
Your Honor, I move that ordinance 2025 be approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 20-25. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next, ordinance 20-26.
This is a second reading of an ordinance to appropriate certain real property interests owned by Robert H. Neff for the County Line Road Widening Project in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio.
Thank you. Once again, this is the second reading of this ordinance and is sponsored by Councilmember Bales. Any discussion? I'm sorry, we already did yours, didn't we? Which one are we on?
We are on
26.
D.
26?
26.
Okay, then we're right.
Yeah. I move
Sorry.
to approve ordinance 20-26. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 20-26. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thanks. Next is resolution 20-35.
This is a resolution to declare the necessity and intent to acquire certain parcels or real estate and other property interests owned by M. David Reed with interest by others for the Indian Ripple Road Widening Project in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. One of our capital projects planned for next year is an improvement project along the Indian Ripple Road corridor. The project begins at Harbert Drive and goes to Grandshaw Road and entails drainage, pedestrian, and curb improvements. In order to construct this project, we need to acquire additional land from 13 individual property owners. To date, we've come to agreement with 10 of those property owners, where we still have 3 where we weren't able to reach a term with just yet. The property in question, no, it would be the one before that, Pete. Yes, sir. Right there is perfect. Yep. You can see Mr. Reed, he owns 3 individual properties. There's a vacant lot here, vacant lot on this side, and the Reed Center is situated there in the center. Of the land to be acquired, there's a permanent right-of-way, which is shown in yellow. There's a small storm easement located right in this area for a catch basin, and the blue is a temporary grading easement. In total, the proposed purchase would be a little bit over 1/10 of an acre for permanent right-of-way, and about 0.15 acres of temporary grading easement is required. So far, we've had pretty good dialogue with the attorney for Mr. Reed. However, we have a looming commitment date with ODOT because there's MVRPC federal money in this project. And just in case we can't come to terms with Mr. Reed, we would ask that the resolution and the accompanying ordinance be approved so we can meet our schedule with ODOT. With that, be happy for any questions.
All right, I appreciate that. Are they aware that you're going to move forward?
They are, yes.
Yes, thank you. Any questions?
Is there any written input from the Reeds?
No, we've had some back and forth. We've been dealing with Mr. Reed's attorney, which is his ex-wife, I believe, in our right-of-way negotiator. And we did some back and forth on that. We're going to continue that, just to try to settle this.
Great.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 20-35. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next is the related ordinance, I presume.
Yes, sir.
Ordinance 20-27, and we need it read, I assume. I'll give you that chance.
Thank you. This is the first reading of an ordinance to appropriate certain real property interests owned by M. David Reed for the Indian Ripple Road Improvement Project in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio.
Thank you. So there's no additional input for the ordinance, I presume.
Yes, sir. Just as you said, Mayor, there's two pieces of legislation that need passed to appropriate, and this is part two.
Okay. All right. This is the first reading of an ordinance, which means it is a public hearing. Is there anyone present this evening that would like to address council on this ordinance? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Any questions from council? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to move ordinance 20-27 on to the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next is Resolution 20-36.
This is a resolution to declare the necessity and intent to acquire certain parcels or real estate and other property interests owned by Terra Developers, LLC, with interest by others for the Indian Ripple Road Improvement Project in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Again, sir.
Yes, I should say, start off with that Terra Developers is also owned by Mr. Reed. So those three properties we talked about previously, the last of which is on the left side here.
Okay.
This property, they're all owned by essentially the same person. They took title, though, as Terra Developers, LLC with this property, which is why it's broken up into two separate pieces of legislation. But it's really all part of the same negotiations that we have with the Reeds going on right now.
Okay. Thank you. Discussion? Motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 20-36.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 20-36. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. And now the attached ordinance is ordinance 20-28.
This is the first reading of an ordinance to appropriate certain real property interest owned by Terra Developer, LLC, for the Indian Ripple Road Improvement Project in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio.
Thank you. And we're good enough just to say this is the following ordinance for that resolution. All right. This is a first reading of an ordinance, so is there anyone here this evening that would like to address council on this ordinance? Anyone at all? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Discussion by council?
Mayor, I motion to move ordinance 20-28 to the second reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to move ordinance 20-28 on to the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next is Resolution 20-37.
This is a resolution to declare the necessity and intent to acquire certain parcels or real estate and other property interests owned by Edna Napier with interest by others for the Indian Ripple Road Improvement Project in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. This is the final one this evening. This is Ms. Napier owns 2 properties along the south side of Indian Ripple Road. The property interest we're looking to acquire is temporary grading easement only. It's we're going to be building some sidewalk, you can see in this area, and there's a slight ditch behind it. In order to make everything blend in correctly, we need to go back on her property just a bit to make everything where she's a slope she can take care of and such. Again, there's 2 properties. The total temporary size is about 0.07 acres, so it's a fairly small area. And the appraised value was $2,834.
Okay. So the communication well on this one as well?
This one, we'll give it our best shot, but I'm doubtful we'll be able to come to terms on this one.
But you are communicating?
We are, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 20-37.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 20-37. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next is the accompanying ordinance 20-29.
This is the first reading of an ordinance to appropriate certain real property interests owned by Edna Napier for the Indian Ripple Road Improvement Project in the city of Beavercreek, Ohio.
Thank you. This is the ordinance that accompanies the previous resolution, and so this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to address council on this ordinance? Seeing none, we will move on and close the public hearing. Any discussion from council? Do I hear a motion?
Your Honor, I move to ordinance 2029 to the second reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to move ordinance 20-29 onto the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. Next is council time. Let's see. I'll start on my left today. How about Councilmember Curran? Would you like to start us off?
2 exciting things that was really kind of fun. One was try a truck. Glenn, Councilmember Dewar, and myself passed out bags at that, Your Honor. Vice Mayor was also there helping to pass bags, and it was really a lot of fun. I think they went up, correct me, I think about 300.
It was 300.
Or so bags were passed out. And really a neat day. The whole thing turned out to be very, very, very nice. The second thing, of course, is the senior citizens opening. And just want to encourage all the audience who's listening tonight, if you're a member of senior citizens, why, they're open now. Call 426-6166, ask for Judy, and get yourself signed up, because you have to sign up for a specific block of time over there. And the exercise room is open. You can also take out a library book, but you can't read it there. You have to go around, you have to take it out of the building immediately, but it's really nice to see people back in there, and they're doing a great job over there, and congratulations to Tyler and the entire staff.
All right, fantastic. Councilmember Schwartz.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, I know last week I talked about, or I guess last time we were here, we talked about the Kiwanis auction. So that happened last week. We were able to raise a significant amount of money. So I just want to thank all of the donors, the sponsors, and those of you who were participating during that auction time. Our theme for Kiwanis this year is safety, so all of those donations will go towards safety within Beavercreek. My husband and I had a chance to do an adult Easter egg hunt that was sponsored by Greene County Parks and Rec. That was an outstanding event. It was something that was canceled because of COVID, and so they just pushed it out. So they did a Halloween theme. So always great to get out and see the parks. I think it's the first time I've actually been in one of the parks after dark. So it was at 8 o'clock at night. You had your flashlights, and I was pulling burrs out of my hair for probably about 24 hours. But it was a great time. I want to remind everyone that early voting has started, so get out, vote early. To tag on Councilmember Curran's Senior Center. If you haven't been out there, at least go drive past. Girl Scouts went out and actually decorated the windows. It looks absolutely fabulous. So I want to give a shout out and a thank you to those Girl Scouts. And last, certainly not least, for those of you who have not or who do not follow the city or don't follow Beavercreek Wetlands, Beavercreek Wetlands is actually handing out trees to those who are impacted by the Memorial Day tornado. If you'd like more information, you can get that either at the Beavercreek Wetlands page or the city's Facebook page. But you have to register ahead of time, so I encourage anyone who is interested to please do that.
Very good.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Garcia.
Yes, thank you. So congratulations and welcome again to our two newest officers. It was exciting to hear that this is their first job in law enforcement, and I think they picked a phenomenal community to, brag on our community a little bit. We have great support for our law enforcement, so I hope they enjoy their time here and really get to know the people in the community. I also wanted to say congratulations to Vice Mayor Adams and his lovely wife for their 52nd wedding anniversary, which is amazing, so congratulations there.
Thank you.
Quick report from the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission. I met with them last week, and one of the things we discussed was regional applications to the Ohio EPA for EV charging stations. With so many cars now trying to go electric and trying to be less dependent on gas and oil, this is something that I thought was really great for MVRPC to be bringing to us. It's funded from a Volkswagen settlement of about $11 million. So it's really nice to have that, and they are seeking to assist members who are interested, so I thought that was really great to bring it to our attention. And the last thing I want to talk a little bit tonight is, I know Councilmember Schwartz brought up the fact that early voting has started, and I wanted to bring up the income tax. One of the things that is really important to me for this income tax is that people evaluate this individually and see how this is going to affect you and your family. So we put together a brief slide of the tax exemptions. And one of the things that I wanted to mention primarily with the exemptions is that this is per the Ohio Revised Code. So this is not something that the city of Beavercreek can control or dictate. The exemptions that would go into this income tax are really driven by the state and the state only. So just a few things that would be excluded. So one of the things that's excluded is pension retirement benefit plans, including military, CSRS, federal employee or Ohio public employees, the OPER system, school employees, and police and retirement systems. There's also IRAs, SEPs, Roth distributions, 401ks, and deferred compensation plans are all excluded or exempt. And that also includes required minimum distributions from any pension plan. Social Security benefits are also exempt, as are any railroad retirement benefits that you may have. Another exemption would be payment from annuities, disability payments received from private industry or local, state, or federal governments, from charitable, religious, or education organizations, and the proceeds of sickness, accident, or liability insurance policies. Unemployment compensation is exempt, active military pay, intangible income such as dividends, interest, and capital gains. Alimony and child support is exempt, as well as income over $1,000 per year. So that's just under $1,000 per year. Be a little counterintuitive to have it the other way around, I guess. Sorry about that. But always, too, for additional information, please go to our website and just email us, email council. I know the city's been taking a lot of phone calls as well. We're happy to answer your questions. This really is such an important decision for each individual. I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to educate how this will affect you and your families. So please do take the time to kind of read up on that and ask us any questions you may have. And I think that's it for me.
Well, thank you, and we can't get that word out often enough, so thank you. Councilmember Dewey.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to echo Councilmember Curran's statements on the Trier truck. It was a wonderful event, and I'd like to thank all of the volunteers and sponsors. Maybe what many did not hear, but Councilmember Curran and I had the privilege of hearing, was just the thanks from the community. There were so many people that were very thankful that we held the event. There were a lot of kids that were able to join and see the trucks. It was an awful lot of fun seeing them blaring the sirens, and so our apologies to those in the local neighborhood, but it was a great event for so many of our kids. And then I also had the opportunity to take a tour of the new tower at Soin Medical Center, and I'd like to thank the leadership there for a major investment in the community and a great place to receive medical care. Really a wonderful asset to our wider community. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Bales.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to congratulate the two new officers, welcome them to the Beavercreek community. I think they'll have a fantastic career here. I'd also like to congratulate Tyler and the rest of the Senior Center staff on the reopening of the Senior Center. I took a minute to read through the Senior Connection that was published last week or so, and I was pretty amazed at the number of activities that they have planned for our senior community. And taken the real time to make sure that each one of those activities were planned and well thought out with regard to COVID in mind. And so they have a mixture of in-person things and virtual activities. So anyway, I just thought that was fantastic. I noticed they have a health screening fair coming up on November 6th. And they've got a drive-through trick-or-treat on Thursday, October 29th at 4:30. So anyway, pick up a copy of the Senior Connection and you can find more information out about those events. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the Beavercreek Fair Funding Committee hosted another Zoom meeting today at 1 o'clock on the income tax and the facts surrounding it. I want to encourage everyone to look up the Fair Funding Committee, Beavercreek Fair Funding Committee on Facebook. They've got a lot of information there. You can like their page and receive updates on when their next Zoom informational meetings will be. And I mailed my absentee ballot today, so I voted, and I'm excited to see the outcome this November. That's all I have.
Well, thank you. Vice Mayor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the mention of my anniversary. It had been so many I'd forgotten it, so, no, just kidding. I want to add my congratulations to the new police officers, Sean and Dylan. Sean actually participated in a CPA class that I was involved with a couple of years ago, and that's where he got his interest in being a police officer, which I think is kind of neat. I highly recommend the Citizens Police Academy. One's in session right now, and once the next one comes up sometime next year, please look forward to doing that. I was also pleased to be a part of 2 ribbon cuttings over the past couple of weeks. The mayor and I attended a ribbon cutting for a Medicare Resource Center at the mall. That was an interesting day, to say the least, of what happened around it. I won't go into that right now, but it was things we weren't aware of. And then I was able to go, it was in the township, to Sibco Parking Garage, which is a project that the Phillips family put together for storage. I was able to attend a tri-truck with Councilman Dewar and Councilman Curran, and it was a good activity. I worked as a COPP and helping with that, but the Parks Department, Kim and Aaron, they deserve a lot of credit for coming up with and thinking outside the box to give us and our community something to do during this time that we can't do things in a normal way. So kudos to them. They did a great job. I attended the Beavercreek Youth Development Committee meeting this past week. The kids had their meeting, a virtual meeting on Sunday, but I could not attend that. But one of the projects that they've got coming up is called the Rake and Run Project. This is for seniors that need their yards raked. The kids get together and go out en masse to do that, and they'd like to do 5 to 10 yards. If you're interested in being a part of that, you can contact the Senior Center at 937-426-6166 to get on the list. And the last thing I have has already been brought up by Councilman Schwartz and Garcia's voting days coming up. Whether you vote absentee, early in person, or in person on November 3rd, please vote. I think that's the best way we have to have any say in what our government is to vote. It's a right and a privilege that we as Americans have. I'm volunteering to work the polls on election days, and if you're voting in person, please maintain social distance and masks to help keep our poll workers and yourself safe. And that's all I have.
Well, very good. I'm not going to repeat some of the things that you've already heard about. Some of them I was able to attend and some I was not. But it's, other than that, it's also been a little busy. I had the privilege of swearing in our 2 new officers this morning, and Don was there as well, but these 2 officers were so enthusiastic. They was like they hit the jackpot, that they are in Beavercreek, you know, and so that, I mean, it really made me feel pleasurable about this community, you know. I mean, it was just a neat experience. I officiated 2 weddings, one on Saturday, one again this morning. Not again, but another one this morning. And so business is picking up a little bit. People are getting back out. The senior center has been mentioned, and the bus schedules have increased now. So the drivers and escorts are all back for the most part. We do have to get, since I'm a driver, we do have to get COVID tested every 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's there's a little more of a sacrifice involved in just volunteering sometimes. But so far, none of the tests down there have shown up positive, so we're doing good. Again, I'm looking forward to Election Day, and I'll follow up, as already been said, that just get out and vote, please. We need, you know, you got to tell people what you think. And that's what your vote does. So thank you very much. And I will turn it over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I did absentee ballots too, but instead of mailing them, I decided at lunchtime to run down to the Board of Elections on Ledbetter, and it was a zoo. It was a long line. And I was glad to walk it up there. That is the mailbox that is outside, so I'm assuming you can do it after hours. There is a very secure, it looked like it was very secure. It was not just a little tin mailbox. It was a secure, where you put your absentee ballots in. So that I did to secure that. So I encourage everybody, no matter what method you do, to get out and do it. A lot of things have been mentioned already, but the senior center, I just want to take one moment on the senior and the parks. Both have been mentioned tonight with the events, and they have been doing the out-of-box thinking very much. And let me go by saying one more thing. Sometimes things are a job for people, and that's fine, you know. People do have jobs, and it's a job, and they do well at it, and they go on with life. But I can safely say that each employee at the senior center is not a job. It's their life passion. That's what they want to do. That's what they feel like they're called to do, and they put everything they have into it. And that's why we have a great senior center, and that's why we have a great staff, and the seniors that come know it and feel it by staff. And that makes all the world of difference. And same way with the park staff. So yes, the senior center is opening, as mentioned. It is by appointment only, and there's testing going on, social distancing, mask requirements, and of course the reduced capacity. But please, if interested in coming in and taking advantage, please call the 937-426-6166 and get put on the calendar and time frame that you can come in. Wanted also to start about the construction is underway there. Last year, was it 2 years ago we did it? Boy, time flies when you're having fun. It was the year before last that we started the construction project on the extra parking across the street behind the senior center. I guess it's on the north side of the senior center. And that lot's been completed, and this year was going to be the connecting of the sidewalk and so people can safely walk. With the utilization of the theater, the senior center, and the Lafino Plaza part, all can be in use at the same time. We had to have additional parking and the buses and everything else. So we have a construction improvement going on, which is lights for the parking lot, which is good. That adds the safety. And the walking sidewalk as well. And the lights are part of a grant that we had received last year on that. So we're finally seeing the full completion of that additional parking lot and the access to the senior center from it. So just be aware that that's what's going on there. And then again, we mentioned the Parks Department, but here is an opportunity, adults 18 years and older, Wednesday, October 21st, 7:30 to 9 p.m. at Owens Place Shelter, 2260 Dayton Xenia Road. That's part of the Rotary Park. Inside of Rotary Park, you'll find Owens Place. Registration is required, so you can go to parks@beavercreekohio.gov or call 427-5514. Astronomer Patrick Craig will bring telescopes and binoculars. You bring the lawn chair and the blanket. That, I hope it's a clear night, because that's awesome. And way out in Rotary Park, it's about as, dark as you can, well, not quite as dark as you can get, but if you're way out in the country, but it's pretty dark. So hopefully there's some good sightseeing through the telescope for you. And other than that, that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is citizen comments. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to address council on any issue at all? If there is, please come forward. Seeing that we don't need any crowd control, we will close that portion of the agenda. Lastly, on the agenda is adjournment. Do I hear a motion?
So move, Your Honor.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.